views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hola everyone, and welcome to Open BxRx Remote, brought to you from my living workspace, Cherry Executive Suite. I'm Rhina Valentin, your host of Café con Leche every Friday. Here's what's coming up in today's show. Leading things off, we'll speak to Yadhira Gonzalez-Taylor about her candidacy for civil court judge in the Bronx, along with her views on criminal justice reform and our overall judicial system. After that, we'll find out about La Brega, stories of the Puerto Rican Experience, a new podcast series highlighting the real life, politics, history, and hustle in Puerto Rico. Then we'll learn about Noche Ritual, an event bringing creatives together to use their art as a form of healing and refuge. Later on in the show, Bobby C brings us an up-to-date with the latest headlines in the world of sports. And lastly, this week's Open Artist Spotlight shines on the Jazz Bazaar, a female dynamic duo debuting their single at the end of the show. So sit back y prepárate. All this and more is headed your way, because now we are officially open. Welcome to Open. I'm Rhina Valentin, your host of Café con Leche for the next hour, encouraging you to get social with us online. That is, tweet us and follow us on Instagram at BronxNet TV and or like us on Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. And of course, while you're there, follow moi on Instagram, Insta Stories, Twitter, FB, and LinkedIn at Rhina Valentin. Our first guest is a Bronx-born attorney, educator, author, and veteran who is now running for civil court judge of New York City and the Bronx. She has served in every level of government, and her legal experiences has given her a different look at the criminal justice system. And joining us to share more about her candidacy and what she has to offer as a civil court judge, please welcome Yadhira Gonzalez-Taylor.
Hi, Rhina. Thank you. Thank you for having me today. I'm glad to be
Thank
here.
you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I know I introduced you formally based on your trade. However, I want to just kind of bring everybody up to speed. I mean, Yadhira's first appearance on Open was back in 2013 as the author of Martina and the Shiny Coin. She has a book, a children's book that is quite lovely, and my daughter actually has grown up reading it. It's one of her collections, a part of her collections, I should say. She then reappeared as the co-chair of the Book Expo on for Comité Noviembre, and I believe she still serves, right, as a co-chair. And then we had her reappear again as a volunteer, assisting LaTanya with the Bronx Brown Book Expo that went virtual, and they would do these pop-up read-alouds. And she continues to advocate literacy, but all this time that we've been showcasing her as such, what most people didn't know is that she's an attorney. And so here we are now, reintroducing her and to you as an attorney who is now going to be running for civil court judge.
Yeah, thank you, Rhina. That was a great introduction. Yes, I am an attorney. So it's not that it was a secret, but being part of the creative community, the relevance of the creative community for me was an outlet from my profession. It was friendships that I formed that had nothing to do with the law, but allowed me to do personal healing based on prior experiences and just meeting people from another perspective that didn't involve the criminal justice system or any of the other things that I've done. And literacy has been my passion for most of my life, knowing that I myself had some obstacles to overcome as a young child. I grew up in a household where we didn't really have too many books. So I find it's very important to make sure that our young people and our older people have access to literacy. I am running for civil court judge, which is one of 19 seats that are available in the city of New York up for election this year, 2 of which are in the Bronx, up for election on June 22nd of 2021. In the
Okay, so that's wonderful. And thank you for advising our viewers right now that June 22nd of 2021 is the primary election for civil court judge of the Bronx, right? So let's walk people through what that role serves as, and so that they have an understanding as, and I'm even curious to know, like, what has inspired you to elevate your form of service, because you are and have been and continue to be of grand service to the borough.
Thank you. Yes, so after 18 years of service at every level, federal, state, and city, I've been a hearing officer for 11 years dealing with the children at the superintendent suspension's office, where I've done hearings. So the suggestion started coming to me that I could potentially elevate to civil court. Civil court is the court where we deal with commercial aspects, commercial leases, slip and falls, personal injury cases, anything under $50,000 and small claims. And I began to be interested in it. And then I did the research and met with several people about the process. I also learned that we could be assigned to any of the courts, and having been a prosecutor and having dealt with the youth for several years, I know that I have something that I can contribute to working towards a better criminal justice system.
So while you mentioned the civil court, there's 3 courts, right, that you could be assigned to. So can we discuss all 3 of them?
Sure. So civil court, like I said, deals with the commercial aspect and monetary issues. Family court deals with domestic issues, domestic violence, orders of protection, custody situations where parents may be in conflict over custodial issues, juvenile accusations, young people who are accused of committing delinquency acts. We don't call them crimes because we don't want to label young people. And then criminal court deals with misdemeanors, anything from a small level petty larceny to serious assaults, anything where a person faces up to a year in jail. But one interesting thing about criminal court is that assignments to criminal court, you can actually also be assigned as an acting Supreme Court justice dealing with felony matters.
And so, and I'm hoping that we're going to educate our viewers in the process of the importance of understanding who's there serving in this capacity, and why you qualify to even serve in this role, and why it matters to even be familiar with the person who is serving as such.
Right. So one is legal qualifications. The qualification is very basic. It's 10 years in legal practice and living within the jurisdiction of the 5 counties. But more importantly, the unwritten qualification, right, that I would argue is lived experience. I grew up in the Bronx. I was educated in the Bronx. I am what I call Bronx shaped. I've seen the life that a Bronxite lives, the struggles that we live, food insecurity, financial insecurity. And so I've walked in all sorts of spaces personally and professionally. And I think that makes me a well-rounded candidate that can bring those life experiences coupled with the legal experiences, which is past prosecutor in the Bronx DA, past prosecutor at the New York City Police Department, disciplining police officers that were accused of police corruption, and currently the administrative aspect of my career. I also volunteer as a small claims artist.
I know, I'm just in awe. I'm in awe over all of these responsibilities that you carried. And on top of that, she's a veteran. Okay, so she comes from a disciplined background. And so just listening to all of this, in addition to everything that I know you to be, right? And because I've come from the artist community, it's just, you know, you're phenomenal. You're phenomenal. And I'm so happy to bring this to our audience. And before we run out of time, let's talk about the section of the Bronx, because you, as you mentioned, you're Bronx bred, born and bred, but let's talk about what community you would be serving.
Yes, so it's the second municipal court district. If you visit my website, YGT, the number 4, BronxJudge.com, there's a map that shows you the district. So you'll find out if you live within the district and be able to vote for me. There is also the list of neighborhoods. So anywhere west of Bronx River down to Webster Avenue, and you cut like west of that, includes neighborhoods Bedford Park, Belmont, Claremont Village, Crotona, Fieldston, Riverdale, Fordham Heights, Kingsbridge, Melrose, Morrisana, Morris Heights, Mott Haven, Mott Hope, Norwood, Riverdale, Spuden-Duville, which I need to learn how to pronounce that, Woodlawn and Woodlawn Heights. And to be transparent, I just read them. I didn't memorize them. So I like to speak with honesty.
It's all good. I mean, you just jumped on aboard this campaign. I'm sure you'll memorize them as you continue moving forward. I mean, you have until June. But before we go, let's just share the importance of people really having their voices heard and the option of doing an absentee vote.
Yes, so it's important that I'm exhorting everyone to please vote, be participating, find out who your judges candidates are. There are 2 seats, so find out. This is more likely than not going to be a contested race. Watch out for forums. The Bronx community is becoming very involved on social media, having community forums. So watch out for those. I'm sure BronxNet will get involved in that too. And just be informed and find out who your candidates are. Although I say you should vote from the bottom up, right? Because the impact of judges is so, when you think about the personal issues that we face, all the way through mayor. The mayor has a big impact, but the biggest impact, I believe, and I submit to you as an attorney arguing, that judges will have a big impact on your lives.
And there you go. And there you go. Our legal advice. Get out and vote from bottom to top. Thank you. Yadhira Gonzalez-Taylor, running for civil court judge. And for more on Yadhira Gonzalez-Taylor, you can visit YGT, the number 4, BronxJudge.com. And you can also follow her on Twitter at YGT, the number 4, BronxJudge. All right, we have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll hear about a new podcast series highlighting the stories and people of Puerto Rico. Don't go anywhere. Hey everyone, welcome back. La Brega, Stories of the Puerto Rican Experience, is a 7-part podcast series that uses narrative storytelling and investigative journalism to reflect and reveal how La Brega has defined so many aspects of life in Puerto Rico. Created by Puerto Rican journalists, producers, musicians, and artists, La Brega showcases the crisis of Puerto Rico while giving Puerto Ricans the platform to showcase their story. And joining us to tell us more about the podcast, please welcome host and executive producer, Alana Casanova Burgess. Hello and welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks. We're very proud of it.
Yeah, you should be. I mean, I'm still listening to the podcast, but it's quite intriguing, beginning with the title itself. Let's share with our viewers a little bit about the, I guess, the different significance La Brega plays in the Spanish language of Puerto Ricans.
Yeah, it's a word that exists in Spanish, but Puerto Ricans really use it in no other way, I think, than we do. But La Brega means, you know, when you are in La Brega, you are struggling, you're trying to make it work, you're dealing with a situation, you're grappling with something. And often it's a situation that you can't really solve, but you just try to keep going anyway. So, you know, someone might ask, how are you doing? And you would say, you know, aquí en La Brega, bregando. And sometimes, you know, you have an individual moment that you're dealing with. Maybe, you know, right now we have lots of bregas with the pandemic, but you might be bregando with a boss who's a little difficult, or maybe a couple jobs that you have to stitch together. So that's an individual brega. And then there are also collective bregas, like after Maria, for example, people came together and were trying to help each other. You know, you couldn't solve the situation after Maria, but you could try to kind of deal with it and cope with it. So La Brega is just a really important word for Puerto Rico.
Yeah, no, and thank you for sharing that, and thank you for bringing it back to Hurricane Maria, because the storytelling that is told within this podcast, really almost acts as rather serves, I should say, as a history lesson, but it's done in a way that is, it captivates you in visualizing exactly how it's being told, while really sharing imagery through words. And I just find that really intriguing, because I'm just in listening to it, I'm learning a lot about Puerto Rican history that I kind of sort of knew, but didn't know the details of it. So what compelled you to choose the topics that you did?
Well, it's an anthology series. So, and thank you for saying that about the language we use and the sounds that we use, because, you know, podcasts and audio journalism is a really intimate experience of listening. You kind of have to imagine, you have to fill in a lot of the visual blanks yourself, but it also means that you have a very deep personal connection with what you're listening to. And because it's an anthology series, I am the host of it, but every episode is reported and told by a different Puerto Rican journalist. So, for example, we have an episode about the debt crisis that is reported by Rhina Valentin from the Centro de Periodismo Investigativo, the Center for Puerto Rican Journalism. And he has been following the story for years. And so when we reached out to the Centro, you know, we were hoping to work with him. We have another piece by Chris Gregory Rivera, who's a photographer, a Puerto Rican photographer, who has been working on a project about surveillance in Puerto Rico for a long time. Yarimar Bonilla is a political anthropologist. So, you know, we really went to people who were experts, who have a voice, who are Puerto Rican, and really wanted them to learn this medium, which was new for everybody on the series. So every episode has an individual Brega and also a collective Brega. And as you were saying, it has a lot of history to it as well. So we talk about how we got to this point that we are now as a people. You know, I'm from the diaspora, but a lot of these stories and the reporters are from the island. So we're trying to give context to the crises that are going on now, but also still telling like original stories about our experience.
So I know the first episode is primarily your voice, and the story is about Levittown, right? And you're also associated with Levittown. It's personal to you as well. And so let just give everybody a little taste of how it is that you're educating everyone, and also shining a light on Puerto Rican stories.
Yeah, the Levittown episode is one that I've been wanting to do for a really long time, because my grandparents lived in the Bronx. They moved from Ciales to the Bronx. My mom lived on East Tremont. And in the 70s, along with thousands of other Puerto Ricans, they moved back to the island. And I know that that's an experience that a lot of people can relate to. My grandparents in particular moved back to Levittown in Toa Baja, and they had been from Ciales, from the mountains. But they chose to live in this suburb that was built by the same company that built the Levitt towns that we know here in the States. So the most famous one is the one in Long Island, you know, this iconic post-war suburb where they were trying to build houses that could be affordable for people, really give them the American dream, make it accessible. And I've always thought it was so interesting that there was this Levittown, right? Spelled the same way, but we say it differently. Right there in Toa Baja, a suburb of San Juan. And I got curious about how it could be that this company decided to build this suburb in Puerto Rico. And it turns out that it has to do, again, with the American dream and making it accessible in this totally very different place. And it has to do with this Cold War rebuilding of Puerto Rico. So there was this project called Operación Manos a la Obra, Operation Bootstrap, to really industrialize the island, to lift a lot of people out of poverty. And part of that was remaking the island a lot in the US's image. And so it was for them a no-brainer really to build this suburb that was very American, or very United Statesian, I should say perhaps. But Puerto Ricans really made it their own. So my grandfather, Nicolas Casanova, he had ducks, he had geese, he had chickens in his backyard, you know, and this place that was so, you know, relatable to them but also totally Puerto Rican, right? Like plátanos in the back, carport in the front. And in looking at that history, we can also see this boom and bust on the island, because there was this huge investment, and now the foreclosure rates in Levittown are sky high. You know, there aren't a lot of jobs. Some of the people I spoke to for the episode are really struggling with trying to figure out how to make a life in Puerto Rico. And so Levittown is like this lens for me to look at that boom and bust story, but also recognize what it was that my grandparents might have been looking for when they moved back to Puerto Rico.
Right. It's a forgiving way of just understanding the replication that has occurred, and the merge, yet the also even almost displacement, because it's a back and forth of having to choose or not being able to choose, because not really understanding what is and what isn't. It's very fascinating, the whole thing. I'm really enjoying it, and I thank you for creating this podcast. And so before we go, though, I want to just share with everyone the artwork really quickly, because they're already wrapping us. I know, I wish we were doing a podcast, but we're not. And so I think it's important that we just share with everyone the dynamics of everyone, and how mindfully you produce this so that it's being captured and shared from different perspectives in the arts.
Yeah, we commissioned original music from a few bands, from Ife, which is a Puerto Rican band, and also Balloon. They did beautiful work. We also have original music by Frankie Reyes, who does these bolero covers, and they're really wonderful. And then, as you mentioned, we commissioned original illustrations for each episode. The one for Levittown was done by Fernando Norat, who's a very talented Puerto Rican illustrator. You can find his work on Instagram at Tropiwhat, like TROPIWHAT. We also have work by Rosaura Rodriguez and Mia Pagan. And we just wanted to really showcase the talent that Puerto Ricans have. We're a talented bunch of people. So even though it's an audio project, you know, we have these beautiful pieces of artwork as well.
Beautiful. And thank you for bringing it here to our viewers. Once again, congratulations, Alana Casanova Burgess. And you guys, don't forget to listen to the 7-part podcast series of La Brega, Stories of the Puerto Rican Experience. You can tune in by visiting labregapodcast.org.
Native and former record label executive LENNY ALIZE Jones and his brother Robert Forbes are now the proud owners of a New York City staple. The co-owners celebrated the grand opening of their new high-quality convenience store, Black Bodega.
We just try to have or create something for the community that we were inspired by and grew up off of ourselves.
Co-owner and longtime friend Rashid Nash explains how Black Bodega began and says the full-service deli and convenience store aims to give back to the community in the South Bronx devastated by the COVID-19 pandemic.
We've spoken about it before in the past, and it was kind of like funny, Black Bodega, haha, but the pandemic wasn't funny. So it really set people back. People had a hard time last year, so we wanted to do something in a serious way to try to alleviate some of that.
Black Bodega aims to deliver more than just high-quality service. The owners say the bodega will also create more job opportunities for local residents.
What we do is we offer, we open 24 hours, and we're offering 3 shifts of 8 hours to cooks and to people who can, cook, stock, and people who can run account and cashiers.
The co-owners also celebrate becoming the first Black Bodega in the Bronx, setting a milestone for the borough.
It feels great. That's one thing I can say, for us to be a part of something like that.
Receiving support and positive feedback from their community, mother of Jones and Forbes, Maria Forbes, explains remaining local is important to the family and their business.
We hire from within the community, and that's important. You can't keep going downtown all the time. You got to stay in your community and put your dollars where it counts, in your community.
Located on East 167th Street, the bodega offers grocery store staples, including the Bronx's favorite sandwich, the chopped cheese. As for what's next, Jones tells Bronxites to look out for a brand new juice bar coming to the borough spring 2021. Reporting for BronxNet, Kevin Aline.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Our art is a form of healing. And well, our next guest is bringing vegan rituals from all parts of the world for everyone to experience. A group of approximately 25 creatives, myself included, all from various places on earth, such as Rio de Janeiro to the Bronx and Puerto Rico, are all going to use their healing art form as refuge, while also creating a space for others to receive healing at the Franklin Furnace Virtual Loft. Joining us to tell us more, please welcome Nicolas Dumit Esteves Rafu Espejo. Hello, Nicolas.
Thank you, Rhina. Thank you for having me here and for having us here and helping us spread the word about Noche Ritual, a night, an evening of healing rituals, so much needed now that what we have been cloistered and inside during the pandemic. So 25 plus creatives, including yourself, will be coming together at Franklin Furnace's Loft to enact healing rituals of all kinds. And that will bring together people from Rio de Janeiro, Puerto Rico, the Bronx, of course, the Dominican Republic, Miami, and many, many more places.
Right. It's so exciting. I'm excited. Even being a part of it, I'm excited to just embark on this ritual, vegan ritual, right? So we also need to share with everyone what identifies as a vegan ritual, and experiencing just everybody's different modalities as a means of just being unified and just being open-minded into just bringing healing energy into the space together. I can't wait.
That is right. And we are inviting everyone who wants to join, and this is free, to bring a knife. Yes, you heard me clearly, a knife. Could be a paring knife, a fruit. You can choose from a banana, an apple, a pineapple. If you bring a pineapple, I guess you're going to have to bring one of those serrated knives to cut the eyes, to get rid of the eyes and all that. It's a whole art form to cut and peel a pineapple, or to peel and cut a pineapple. You can bring a banana. You can bring a mango or any other fruit you want to, and also bring a blanket. And we will use it. We will use it.
And so, no, I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm excited, right? This is like all the suspense in the way you're sharing it. And then again, we already opened up mentioning that there's going to be like 25, I said approximately 25, so he said 25 plus creatives that are all going to perform their own style of ritual. And so the way it's set up is as if though we're just going to go through this marathon of rituals in increments of like a minute to 2 minutes, and they're all different. And so I understand you have some items to introduce some of the other creators that are part of this amazing. I mean, I'm so excited, and I hope you guys are just as excited as I am to experience this. Noche Ritual is called.
That is true. My mentor, Linda Mary Montano, will be there. Linda Mary Montano was the woman who did a 1-year performance with Teichin, for which they were tied together by a rope by a full year.
Wow.
This talks so much about relationships. I mean, talking about COVID and the pandemic, imagine being tied yourself by an 8-foot rope for 1 year and having to negotiate relationships and dates and appointments and all of that. So this is the Madonna of the Shoe, made by Linda Mary Montano. So if you want to meet her, she'll be there.
Oh my.
Lulu, fabulous Lulu Lolo will be there.
Oh my.
Acting and action. Lulu Lolo, the gentleman of 14th Street, and many more characters. And my dear friend, very serious, Billy X. Curmano. Yes, include the X, Billy X. Curmano. This is the man who was buried for 3 days while being alive and was exhumed on the 3rd day, and with a traditional New Orleans ceremony. And Billy also swam the whole length of the Mississippi River, beginning to end.
Oh my.
So Billy will be there. Ed Woodham from Art in Places will join us as well. Art in Places, the festival on 14th Street, and he will be bringing love, which is so much needed now. Love, love, love. And who else? Well, what do you think? Talking about oracles and rituals and actions and healing, of course, our Rhina Valentin will be there that night. And I won't know too much about her action. Just join us.
Yeah, you already spoken, pulling out the mirror. And let's not forget the necklace you're wearing, darling.
This person won't be in physically, but she'll be there in spirit, and she's alive and kicking. She's a dear friend from Russia who lives in Brooklyn and who also has some connections to the Bronx. Her name is Irina Danilova, and Irina works with the number 59. Everything for her is 59. She jumped out of a boat. She was at a lake and she jumped out of a boat, and she wanted to make sure that she went down 59 feet. She also jumped from an airplane with a parachute 59 feet down, or 59,000 feet down, I don't recall. And she made this necklace that has 59 bottle caps, Coca-Cola bottle caps, and they're all kosher. So everything is 59. She also realized that the rosary has 59 beads, and that some of the crackers have 59 holes. So be there, join us. Hopefully Irina will join us as well, and you can count 59, whatever you want.
Or we can count 54, because it is the celebration of Nicolas Dumit's birthday as well.
And that is true. And I'm not a birthday person. I'm not into birthday. I think the last time I celebrated my birthday, I was 7. And I have to tell you, Rina, that my cake was in the shape of a guitar. It was this whole fancy blue cake in the shape of a guitar with the cuerdas y todo eso. After that, I don't think I ever celebrated a birthday, but as I'm turning 54 on Friday, and there has been so much happening around us, within us, in our homes, outside, in our city, in our bar, right? I figure I want to celebrate. I want to be present. Perhaps celebrate is not the word. To be present with whatever arises, and be present with a group of friends, and be present enacting and unleashing and having unfold all kinds of healing actions for all of us, for the performer as well as for those who join this event at Franklin Furnace.
At franklinfurnace.org. And I just want to remind you, in being present, and although you're saying you don't celebrate your birthday, since it is your birthday today, I'm going to wish you a happy birthday. And in sharing your story of having a cake at the age of 7 in the shape of a guitar, it right away made me think of Coco. And so on that note, I want to say, remember me. So I have to say goodbye. Remember me. Did you see Coco?
No, I've heard about it. And the night that I was going to watch it, something happened. I was actually in Baja California, and we are about to play the film, and it didn't work. And when I say I don't mean to celebrate, because there has been so much sadness, and I know that we do need collective celebrations. But I wanted to maybe give that a spin and say acknowledge, just to say thank you. I guess thanking is a way of celebrating, and I don't mean with a big party and dancing and all of that, but just acknowledging can be a way of celebrating in a very quiet way.
Yes, and it's definitely going to be beautiful, and it's going to be symbolic, and we acknowledge you for curating this amazing collective, and I want to thank you for including me in this acknowledgement and being part of this group of people that are definitely going to send some serious vibrations to the global community. And once again, that's happening on Friday, well, tonight at February 26th at 7 p.m. And if you're interested in experiencing it, you can just sign on by going to franklinfurnace.org. Once again, the name of the experience is called Noche Ritual. And bueno, don't go anywhere because Bobby C's Weekly Sports Roundup is coming up next.
We turn our attention here at BronxNet to spring training. Although the winter weather here in the Big Apple is starting to turn the corner, how can we not be excited to talk America's pastime and some of the best headlines from the Sunshine State, sunny Florida? Position players made their way to spring training this week, and the game schedule opens this weekend for both the Yankees and Mets. The Pinstripers begin the 2021 season with Toronto Sunday, and the Mets play the Marlins Monday in spring training action. Yankee slugger Aaron Judge says his new off-season routine, which includes yoga, he hopes will keep him in the starting lineup more.
I think it's going to make big adjustments, especially a lot of the movement stuff that he has us doing, a lot of stuff with med balls, just getting those explosive movements. I feel like that's where a lot of the things happen, or with those quick, kind of explosive movements. So just training a little bit more with that, and a little less, straight bench press and squat, I think is going to help out.
Meanwhile, ace Garrett Cole checks in on how he's progressing on the mound.
Yeah, I'm feeling great. Right on track. Ball was coming out pretty good yesterday. Not enough strikes, but it's okay. Bounced back really well today, and so looking forward to the next one.
The longest tenured Yankee will be back in the Bronx this season, but he's not starting in his familiar spot. Brett Gardner and the Pinstripers finalize a $5.15 million one-year contract for the outfielder to return for a 14th season. New York also finalizes its deal with left-hander Justin Wilson on Tuesday that could also be worth $5.15 million for 2 seasons. He joins a camp that includes former Yanks reliever Adam Warren. The 33-year-old relief pitcher is back for his 3rd stint with the team. He hasn't pitched since 2019 when he was with the San Diego Padres. Ever since then, he has been recovering from Tommy John surgery. He signed a minor league deal with the Yankees to rehab in 2020 before re-signing a minor league deal in the offseason. As for Gardy, manager Aaron Boone says that for now, Clint Frazier is projected over Gardner in left field in an outfield that has Aaron Hicks in center and Aaron Judge in right. Meantime, the Mets are beyond excited about their roster adjustments. Here's manager Luis Rojas on tapping into that potential.
We're a very talented group of guys. That's what we have here in camp, and that doesn't necessarily mean that we're the best team out there. That's something that gradually we got to get to. The talented group of guys working together as a team is what's going to make that.
New star Francisco Lindor is adjusting himself to the Mets.
It's fun to be around the guys to see what everybody's got, and the work ethic I've been seeing from the guys have been really, really good. The only thing that makes you want to do is elevate your game and get better. Like I said earlier, I have heard nothing but good things about this group of guys, and I just want to be a piece of their puzzle.
Electrifying shortstop Fernando Tatis Jr. steals the biggest headlines from the baseball world this week. The Padres' young star inks a $340 million 14-year contract, the longest in baseball history. Biggest headline here in the Big Apple is the limited return of fans to Madison Square Garden and the Barclays Center. The Knicks welcomed the first fans on Tuesday night when they played host to Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors.
Just to have, fans back, the amount we can have back, and just to have their love and support, it's definitely going to be, something that'll be good to be a part of. It's definitely been different without having them, on a game-to-game basis when we play, so it's been tough, but it'll be great to have them back. It'll be great to have my son and my wife back in the building. to watch us live. So it'll be a good night for sure.
Randall gets the All-Star reserve after all, and so does Brooklyn's James Harden, who has the Nets cooking in the East. That includes a nice win over the reigning champ LA Lakers. Harden is named Eastern Conference Player of the Week. Here's the latest from Brooklyn.
Each guy's been locked in. We've had so many, a few, guys in and out lineups or whatnot, but the next man up and the next man ready to go. Obviously Jeff TLC was out tonight, but just guys came in and was prepared and played big minutes, and they stepped up.
Time for some quick hitters from around the world of sports. Legendary golfer Tiger Woods is recovering from serious injuries to both his legs after a single vehicle rollover crash Tuesday morning near Los Angeles. Woods' 2021 Genesis was going downhill on a winding road that crossed the median before crashing into a curb and overturning into a wooded area. Neighbors called 911 about the crash at 7:12 a.m. local time. The airbags in the vehicle deployed, and Woods was wearing a seatbelt. The sheriff's department says that likely saved his life. It appears that Woods' vehicle was going at a relatively greater speed than it should have. Never a dull moment when it comes to Tiger. We do wish him a quick recovery. The intent of the assault allegations levied against Ranger star Artemi Panarin without a shred of supporting evidence or corroborating witnesses by his former KHL coach in an interview with a Russian tabloid appears to have been to sully the reputation of the Broadway Blue Shirts winger and to promote both a personal and political agenda, not for justice. Panarin unequivocally and vehemently denies the charge that he punched an 18-year-old woman down to the floor in a hotel bar following a game in December 2011. He's not with the Rangers and may not be back soon. He has taken a leave of absence from the team. In motorsport, ex-Formula One driver Romain Grosjean says he's really happy with his first morning of testing at IndyCar. Despite spinning off and feeling soreness in his arms and recovering from a burnt left hand that he suffered in a near-death F1 accident this past season. Grosjean's first NTT IndyCar Series test with the Frenchman's new number 51 Dale Coyne Racing took place Tuesday afternoon. Here's more.
It really felt like home at the beginning. Obviously, it's a new car, so I just had to adjust a little bit to my new driving position and so on. But things very quickly felt quite smooth, which was good. And then I discovered the joy of not having a power steering wheel.
IndyCar about 50 days away from getting back to racing. NASCAR, meanwhile, swung into week number 2 on the schedule. Who had Michael McDowell and Christopher Bell winning the first 2 races of the season? Last time the Cup season opened with 2 first-time winners was 1950. Bell, not known as a road racer, showed his mettle in chasing down Joey Logano and getting by the former Cup champ to win on Daytona's road course this past weekend. Gotta love racing, baby. Gotta love it. And you have to love what the UConn women's basketball team is doing on the college hardwood. UConn remains the #1 team in the Associated Press women's college basketball poll after blowing out its 2 opponents last week. The Huskies received 28 of 30 first-place votes Monday from a media panel after holding St. John's and Xavier to 32 points apiece in routes. The #1 team in the country. That has a nice ring to it. On a final sports roundup note, shout out to the Bronx's own Malachi Smith out of St. Ray's. He earns a McDonald's All-American nomination despite not making the final cut. Unfortunately, even those that do won't be playing in a game this year due to COVID-19. Still, a big deal to be in the mix for that honor. Congrats, Malachi. Those are the headlines. We hit the C-list for some praise for a female athlete that deserves plenty. From becoming the 3rd player in the Open era to win their first 4 major finals to staying perfect once she reaches the quarterfinals, Naomi Osaka just keeps piling on the numbers and rolling in the world of tennis. With a 6-4, 6-3 victory over Jennifer Brady in the Australian Open last Saturday, Osaka captures her 4th Grand Slam title and etches her name even deeper into the history books. She's the 7th active player, male or female, to have 4 Grand Slam titles. She's the 4th female active player after Serena Williams, Venus Williams, and Kim Clijsters, and the 7th overall if you include Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, and Novak Djokovic. Do you hear those names? She's just the third player in the Open era, male or female, to win their first 4 major finals. We need fans back at the U.S. Open in New York later this summer to witness more of her greatness. I think Serena is the best I've ever seen, but Osaka is challenging her for that spot, especially right now in the game today. Enjoy what you're watching. It's been special, and all the more reason why we need fans at matches in 2021 if COVID-19 decides to let up or if the vaccine does what it's supposed to do. Fingers crossed. Congrats to her on a special Australian Open run. I'm Bobby C. Stay tuned for more Open.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Our last guest is a dynamic duo from New York City known for incorporating the tropical sounds of salsa, boogaloo, and world music to their sets. They've played in various hotels and restaurants around the city with a residency at the Beekman Hotel. Battle. Today, they join us desde Colombia, and I mean the country, as in South America, to talk about their latest projects. Please welcome Andrea Chavarro and Catherine Ocampo of the Jazz Bazaar. Hello, welcome ladies.
Hi, Rhina, how are you doing?
Oh my gosh, all right, so if there's one thing we could take away from this is this form of communication worldwide that doesn't really matter where you are.
Yeah. And we happen to be in the same time zone as New York, so it's really easy for us to just hop on and still communicate. But even if we were to be speaking to someone across the world, it's so cool that we can just do that now through Zoom.
It is. I mean, we're all a little zoomed out, but moving past that, and the reason I even made it my business to introduce you as such is because in the performance, we're going to get the taste of Colombia, and I want people to know that, okay, although they have a blue wall behind them, trust me, they're in Colombia. And so let's talk a little bit about both of you being Colombian and your origins and how this whole adventure has come full circle for you both.
Yeah, well, like you said, we're both Colombian. We consider ourselves Colombian American. I was born in the States. Kat was born in Medellin. Yeah. But we grew up in Colombia, always obviously with a very strong Colombian heritage and culture at home. And in Miami, you get a lot of Hispanic culture in general. Yeah. But Catherine and I met here in Cali, where we are currently at. And it's kind of a funny story because we both happen to be Miami natives, but we never met in Miami. We ended up meeting here, and we met at a blues jam, which is like a place where musicians would get together to play. And so, yeah, our culture and music kind of brought us together. And now almost 4 years, it's been like 3 since we've been back to Cali.
Yeah. After Colombia, we moved to New York. We were just like,
right,
where can we really get the ball rolling with the duo? And we were like, New York.
Yeah.
So and Andrea has a family that's been living in New York for like 30, 40 years or something like that. So it was an easy move. And yeah, we really hustled and made a little name for ourselves in the.
No, I wouldn't say little. I mean, you both have your own thing going on, and it's quite special. I mean, you had a residency. I mean, I understand why the relocation again, although Andrea, I do want to share, you have a very interesting background, and I love that you identified yourself as a nomad during a certain period of your life, which for me, resonates with free spirit and in understanding like, hey, if it's time for me to move to another location and start all over again, that to me within itself is a wonderful talent.
It is, absolutely. And I get a lot of admiration for that, and I always feel like I want to encourage people. I'm like, you too can go if you need. But I think I've always kind of taken things a little bit with a grain of salt and have been very true to myself, where if I did feel like it was time to move on, or if I did feel like I needed to reinvent or relocate, I just did. And that I think sounds a little crazy to some people, to just like, you know, leave your life and go somewhere else.
Not
but
as much anymore. I think
yeah.
with the pandemic, everybody's had to like really shift their way of thinking and their lives. So I think probably that lifestyle like really prepared her for that moment when everybody was like, whoa, what's
Right.
gonna happen? And she was like,
I was like, I got this. I was like, I know what to do. I'm like, oh, everything's falling apart. No problem. We'll just start all over again. It's cool. But
and you're both an interesting duo, though. I mean, because you're also a couple, and also, you know, I don't really see. At least, you know, I'm not a jazz connoisseur, but I don't really see too many women playing saxophone. Like that's not an instrument I see too many women playing.
yeah, there's a couple really good women playing saxophone.
not as many as there should be.
Not as many. Yes, I think just like professions like STEM, I think with music, growing up, we're just not encouraged to play heavy instruments or to do things that are typically, you know, like male roles. But yeah, luckily I had a great band director and who let me play whatever I wanted. And yeah, I just stuck with the saxophone for a very long time.
And so I understand that this time around, right? I mean, they have to stick by, and I'm talking about the viewers, to see the performance, but there's a little surprise because you know, she's a saxophone player, and there's a bit of a surprise. And so with that, let's just share before we go how you, aside from, you've already shared all of the relocating and the, I guess, redesigning your lives, right? And now taking on these or recreating these new roles, right? So from what I understand, Catherine, you now developed the role of reinventing yourself as almost a producer now as well, right?
Yeah. I've always been into songwriting, which we've done concerts where Andrea will like sing songs that I've written, but on the saxophone. This time, yeah, I made it a goal of mine to really get into production during the pandemic, and I really studied and you know, like everybody with the YouTube videos, maybe a little masterclass. A lot of really great people put up like free master classes online. So yeah, in this song that you're gonna see, I'm doing most of the production. I'm playing a little bit of synths, and yeah, I just like trigger the drums and stuff like that I also programmed onto the track.
And then last but not least, before we throw to your performance, this is the first song that you have both co-written together.
Yes. Yeah, it's wonderful. It's about love. It's about yeah, so there's a lot of us in that song.
It's very like both of our personalities mesh, because like Kat was mentioning, she produces the track. So essentially what that means is like all of the music that's behind my voice is what she created with her production programs. And then I wrote like the lyrics and the melodies to the lyrics. And it really all kind of came out one day when she showed me these chords she was playing around with. She really like forced me. She's like, okay, come on, you got to try. Cause this is the first song I write. I was not a songwriter before this. So it's also like my first go at a new thing, but we're really proud of it and we really like it. And there's pieces in English, pieces in Spanish. So I just feel like it really represents like who we are as bilingual Colombian American ladies.
I love it. And thank you for bringing it here to our viewers. They're going to debut with us, which I'm super excited about. And all I have to say before we take a break is que viva el amor, que viva. You guys, we got to take a quick break, but when we return, the Jazz Bazaar, they're going to perform for us. Don't go anywhere. Hey everyone, welcome back. Here now to debut their new single, Love Like Waves. Please welcome the Jazz Bazaar.
When I dive deep into your gaze, I'm pulled in more and more every day. And your love's like waves, can't pull away. In your depths, babe, my fears are at bay, and your words in my mind are engraved. And your love's like waves, and your love's like and then you said, what if, baby, it was just you and me? What if, baby, we just sat by the sea? Come on, honey, now, what would you say if I didn't go and ask you to stay? Tell me down now, what would it take? Keep you by my side for heaven's sake. I just really want you to stay. I just really want luna, mar, sal y estrellas, olas besan las arenas. En la noche tú me llenas como el viento a las palmeras. When I'm with you, nothing is the same. Now I know your heart is mine to claim. You confess that you give on stay with your arms wrapped around my waist. Sumergida en el mar de tu amor, obsesionada con tu sabor. Baby, got me in a daze. 'Cause your love's like, yeah, your love's like waves. And then you said, what if, baby, it was just you and me? What if, baby, we just sat by the sea? Come on, honey, now, what would you say if I didn't go and ask you to stay? Tell me down now, what would it take? Keep you by my side for heaven's sake. I just really want you to stay. I just really want luna, mar, sal y estrellas, olas besan las arenas. En la noche tú me llenas como el viento a las palmeras. Your love's like waves.
So, what do you think about that rooftop performance there, with the mountain as a backdrop? Colombia, Colombia. Oh, how I want to be in Colombia. All right, you guys, for more on the Jazz Bazaar, you can visit jazzbazaar.com and make sure to follow them on Instagram at Jazz Bazaar. That is our show today, mi gente. Thanks to all our guests for coming through, and to you, our viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of the show, you can check out the recap cast tonight and 24 hours a day at BronxNet.tv. I'm Rhina Valentin, and for all of us here at Open, may the universe provide paz, prosperity, y amor. Adios.